Hello and welcome back to my channel, your sanctuary for all things home, health, and style. While it's super easy to make organizing mistakes, learning from those mistakes will help you improve your organizing practice for years to come. I've been a professional home organizer for 6 years, and today I'm going to share with you 10 organizing mistakes that I see in people's homes all the time. And because I think it would just be rude to point out the mistakes and not give suggestions for alternatives, I of course will be sharing my advice with you on what to do as well as what not to do. Let's get into it. The first mistake that I'm going to share, and one of the most common mistakes I see, is people purchasing their organizing solutions before decluttering their space. We've all been there where we walk into a TJ Maxx or a Target or Walmart or Container Store or whatever, and we see all these beautiful, cool organizing supplies, and we think, wow, that would work really well for me. As tempting as those cool and beautiful organizing supplies may be, decluttering is always the first step in any organizing project, no matter what. There's no sense in organizing things you don't even know you have, you don't even like anymore, or you just don't want them anymore. No matter how much money you spend or no matter how many cool products you invest in, excess clutter will render your organizing products completely useless. When we have more than our space can efficiently fit, it's impossible to be organized. And to go along with that, the second common organizing mistake is purchasing organizing supplies without first measuring their space or measuring their space improperly. In my opinion, the only thing worse than going out and making an impulse organizing purchase is coming home, being all excited to do some organizing, and realizing it doesn't fit. Now, not only do you have some kind of useless extra organizing supplies that are probably going to just end up turning into clutter in your home as well. If you don't want that to happen, now you have to go out and make an additional trip out to the store to return the item. What a pain in the booty, am I right? It is absolutely essential to measure your space in order to maximize your organizing capabilities. Measuring incorrectly can lead to wasted space or organizing solutions that are super clunky and hard to manage. Now, once you've decluttered your space and you're getting ready to go ahead and take those measurements, make sure that you watch out for those little details like the cabinet hinges on your cabinet doors, and be sure that you are measuring the width, depth, and the height of everything. Definitely write down the measurements on a piece of paper. I personally like to draw a little picture of the space. That way, when I get to the store, I'm not like, what the heck does this mean? And then when you're shopping for your organizing solutions, be sure to leave a little bit of wiggle room. We want to maximize the organizing space that we have to play with, but we also want it to be functional for day-to-day life. And speaking of maximizing our space, the next mistake that I see people making all the time is not using their vertical space. Some of the most common areas I see this mistake being made are underneath your kitchen sink, in your garages, and even in your closets. Now, most sinks have the big disposal systems underneath it, which makes it a kind of intimidating area to organize, which leads people to kind of just taking one basket and putting it on the bottom, or one Lazy Susan, or sometimes nothing at all, which is a good start. But what happens with that is you're having to reach over everything in order to grab what you're looking for. Something that I love using underneath sinks to maximize the space are drawer units. That way, not only are you utilizing the space front to back, but you're also utilizing that height or vertical space as well. Another area of often overlooked vertical space that really comes in handy underneath the kitchen sink is the cabinet doors. I love utilizing the cabinet doors, whether it's putting a little command hook to hang your spray bottles on, or maybe putting in a paper towel bar. The options are really endless. In your garage, you could utilize the vertical space by getting things up off the floor and hanging them on the walls, such as your bike or gardening tools, rakes, shovels, brooms, all that good stuff. Now, closets are a sneaky area because they often have hidden vertical space that goes unused, and that is on the top shelf of your closet. If you take a look at my own personal closet, you'll see that I put shoe shelves on the top shelf of my closet, and this allows me to get an extra like 2.5 feet of storage that otherwise would have gone completely wasted. And that's like 10 pairs of shoes, so just saying. And the next organizing mistake I want to share with you is storing items you use all the time super far away from where you actually use them. I mentioned this in my last organizing advice video as well, but it just really baffles me when I see people storing their spices all the way across their kitchen in the pantry, where they then have to go and grab what spices they want, bring them all the way over to their stove to then cook with. It's kind of like if you were to be working at your desk and you needed to jot something down, you keeping your Post-it notes and your pencils all the way in the garage. It just doesn't make sense. If we're spending 5 minutes per day running around to all these different places to grab things that we need, if I did my math right, 5 minutes per day for 1 year turns out to be like 30 hours or something that we are wasting just simply walking to go get something that could be right where we need it. As you're going through your daily routines, think about items that you use frequently that you're having to go the distance for. Some examples from my own life is chapstick. I have at least one chapstick stored in a little secret spot all around my house in every single room, sometimes even two. Another kind of weird thing that I do to prevent me from having to waste time going to get things is I seem to always be needing like a hammer, a screwdriver, some packing tape, painter's tape, batteries for something, probably every other day, every 3 days, maybe twice a week. Enough to where it's very convenient for me to just have a little basket of tools and stuff underneath my coffee table. Now when I need to measure something, instead of going all the way through my entire house to my garage, into the toolbox, finding the right drawer that my measuring tape is in, I can just go right underneath my coffee table, grab the measuring tape, boom, done. Now, if you're gonna do this too, remember, there are pretty ways that we can stash things around where they're not gonna become an eyesore, and always remember that if you're gonna create a little stash or a junk drawer, that doesn't mean take all your things and just pile them in. There still needs to be organizational systems within. Always have a method to your madness. Now, for this next one, I recently had to take my own advice when I was reorganizing my kitchen, because if you haven't seen that video yet, I recently have started taking a bunch of supplements to help me with my health. I went to Amazon and I was searching for pill bottle organization, and I saw all these crazy gadgets and gizmos that seemed like a good idea, but in reality, I ended up just using the turntables that I already owned that I knew already fit in my space, and it ended up looking really nice and has been super functional since my kitchen reorganization. The mistake that I see people making all the time, and that I almost made myself, was overcomplicating my storage solutions. I feel like in this day and age with TikTok and Instagram Reels and those ASMR organizing videos of people having a million different plastic containers within a little bit bigger size plastic containers within a little bit bigger size plastic containers to organize like a super elaborate candy drawer or ice in your freezer or some wild thing like that. People are tending to overcomplicate their organizing solutions, and that can really put up roadblocks and sway you against getting organized, because it just feels impossible and it feels like you're never going to have the perfect solution, so why even bother? It also creates the illusion that you need to spend a ton of money in order to get organized, which just really is not true at all. You really don't need fancy containers for every little thing or really any little thing. Sure, it does make for a more aesthetic and more Pinterest-worthy space, but it is not necessary. Honestly, it wasn't until we moved to Texas and I got a job at the Container Store for a few months that I even bought a lot of the organizing solutions that I have today, was to take advantage of that sweet, sweet employee discount while I had the chance. At the end of the day, pretty much any way, shape, or form that you think about organizing, less is always more. Remember, keep it practical and efficient and try not to overcomplicate things. Another really common organizing mistake is failing to assign age-appropriate tasks to your family members. I always say it's never too young to start teaching organized habits because that's the truth. Even kids, before they can speak, can understand so much of what we are saying. There's actually a lot of studies on this that show when you talk to your baby and you narrate your tasks throughout the day, they absorb so much of that information. In addition to being a professional home organizer, I've also been a nanny and a babysitter for the past 15 years, and I've worked with a ton of different kids at all different age levels, and let me tell you, kids are so capable. I also had the pleasure of helping out my friends and babysitting their freshly 2-year-old son for a few months. He would come over to my house for a few hours every day, and we would just hang out, play, and feed him lunch, take a nap, and then they would come and pick him up. I wish I could say I was surprised at how quickly he learned where to get everything and where to put everything back, but honestly, it did not surprise me at all. We as adults are usually the ones getting in their way because we assume that they're too young to organize. We buy them a ton of stuff and fill their rooms completely full to where it makes it very chaotic and difficult for them to know where things belong. Or at the end of a long day, we're tired and we make the mistake of feeling like it will just be faster if we clean up the mess ourselves instead of just taking the time 1 or 2 times to teach them the systems and then they can do it themselves. Whether your kid is 3 years old or 13 years old, it's never too early or too late to start teaching them these habits. If they're closer to the 3 side, I would recommend only letting them play with 2 or 3 things at once, and if they want to get a 4th thing out, then they need to clean up something that they already played with, as well as implementing cleanup time at natural break points throughout your day, whether it's the transition between playtime to lunchtime or playtime to nap time. If your kids are older and you haven't really taught them organized habits yet, I would start with these 2 things. One is have them start making their beds first thing in the morning. This is a really great habit that even we could start with if we don't implement it in our daily lives. It's the easiest thing and it just really sets our whole day off on the right foot. The second thing that I would make sure you have your kids do is clean up their toys and make sure that their floor is clean before going to bed. This way, when you guys are up in the morning getting ready for school or your days, your kid's not going to be distracted playing with a bunch of toys instead of brushing their teeth, and you're not going to be stepping on stray Legos as you go in to wake them up to get ready in the morning. Once your teens get the hang of that, you can slowly add things in as you see fit. Just like with anything when it comes to kids, be consistent, be patient, and remember, it's our job as the influential adult or parent in their lives to teach them these habits and prepare them for a successful life ahead. Organization is a skill that every single person needs throughout their entire life. You are not being a mean parent if you give your kids chores. Another super common mistake that people often make is neglecting to purge or declutter regularly. Once we get our spaces all nice and organized, it's like a breath of fresh air and just the most relaxing, amazing feeling. It's beautiful to look at. Sometimes we'll just open up our closet door and just look at it because it looks so nice and we're so proud of ourselves. And then a couple of months go by and we haven't quite shifted our shopping habits or the amount of items that we're bringing into our home versus the amount of items we are bringing out of our home. And before we know it, our space is kind of overflowing again. Whether it's once per month or once per quarter, I highly recommend scheduling in some decluttering time. Regular purging will keep your space organized and clutter-free, and who doesn't like that? And kind of hitchhiking off of that last point, another really big organizing mistake people make is thinking it's a one and done situation. I hate to break it to you, but organizing is not a one-time achievement. Our lives and routines are always changing and always growing, so our organizational systems need to as well. The next organizing mistake I want to share with you is stacking items on top of each other instead of filing items next to each other. I see this in so many spaces as a professional home organizer. I think the most common, easiest example and way for me to explain this is by using a dresser drawer as an example. I remember when I was in high school, and that's when I came across Marie Kondo and her file folding method, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, this is so genius. So instead of stacking things on top of each other, you're going to fold them and store them vertically in the space. So that way you can kind of rifle through everything to find what you need. While stacking items can lead to disorganization and wasted space, filing items maximizes both visibility and accessibility. And last but not least, the final organizing mistake that I want to share with you all today is not outsourcing or asking for help when you need it. The way that we represent ourselves on the outside or in our homes is often a reflection of what is going on inside. Whether you are a busy working professional who just simply does not have the time to create the organizational systems at home, or maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and the thought of decluttering and organizing and watching 3 kids and keeping the house clean and making dinner all simultaneously just feels impossible, which I don't blame you. Or maybe you're feeling unmotivated or emotional due to suffering a recent loss. You should never be afraid to ask for help. We as human beings all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and it's so important to know that it is impossible for all of us to do it all the time. Sometimes we just need help, and that's okay. A lot of people are also embarrassed about the mess that they've created and feel ashamed of it. But I just want to let you know that we as professional organizers have truly seen it all. And I know that I can speak for a lot of us when I say that we've gotten into this profession because we genuinely love organizing and we know the value that it brings. And we want to help pass that value along to other people to help them improve their lives. A lot of us also have gotten into this field and have created a love of organizing because we previously had not been living an organized life at all, and we knew how it made us feel. I was raised by a single dad, and he was awesome. Like, he worked a ton of jobs. He went to every single school field trip that I ever had. He coached my soccer team. He took me to all these extracurricular events and was just a total rock star. But our house was always a huge disaster. And I remember, I think it was my 9th birthday, or maybe, no, it was my 9th birthday. And he was gonna let me have like all of my girlfriends over to the house for a big slumber party and like all of their parents over for the big barbecue and everything. And I remember we were spending the entire day before cleaning our house because it was such a disaster. Like, laundry piled everywhere, dishes stacked all over the counters, and just stuff everywhere. With the pressure of everybody coming over and only having a certain amount of time to get it done, I remember just cracking underneath the pressure and the stress of all of it. And I had a complete and total meltdown and was crying so much. And ever since that moment, we both as a team, just the 2 of us, tried a lot harder to keep our house nice and clean. Anyways, I just wanted to share that story with you to show you that this doesn't have to be the way that you live your life for the rest of your life. Take this as your aha moment, get some help, let's reset you, and then moving forward, you can do a little better. And this video is meant to help you, not necessarily sell you on a professional home organizer. So there are definitely ways that you can do this on your own or with help from friends and family as well. Whether it's just setting a goal for yourself to organize one drawer per day or even for 10 minutes per day, a little bit of progress adds up over time. And remember from earlier in the video, 5 minutes per day, if I did my math right, is 30 hours over the span of a year. One idea that I saw on Instagram that I loved, this woman was having her second or third baby, and instead of having a baby shower, she had a nesting party where a bunch of her girlfriends came over and they each took on one room and just like did a whole deep clean of each room of her house. And then she also put out some snacks and everything. And so they're all just like socializing and helping her get her house in order and prepared for her baby. So fun. Maybe twice per year, you and your group of girlfriends take turns every Thursday night for a month. You guys rotate houses and you pick one room or assign one person to each space and you do a deep clean, declutter, reorganize party. A lot of people can be embarrassed about being disorganized, but honestly, it's something that happens to every single one of us. I'm a professional home organizer in my office before I did the makeover. Oh my God, it looked so bad. So just know that you're not alone and it's totally okay to ask for help. Well, there you have it, 10 common organizing mistakes that are made all the time. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope that you were able to learn at least one thing. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm almost at 300 subscribers, which is totally crazy. This channel is only about 2 months old, so just thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I really want to do a video at some point that's called answering your, in capitals, organizing questions. So if you guys have any organizing questions or if you want help on a specific space, feel free to leave your questions in the comments or send me a picture of underneath your sink or your garage or whatever via email or Instagram direct message. I'm happy to help answer your questions as soon as possible, and then I also would love to add them to my video. And that concludes my video for today. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Timber, and together let's make every moment at home extraordinary.